Strap in, everybody, because there are a lot of no good sons of bitches out there. Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome to an all new Talkin Movies. As always, I am your host, the real Gino Reynolds, and today we're going to be talking about the new Netflix crime thriller, The Devil All the Time. Now, bear with me, there is a lot going on in this movie, and there are a ton of characters in this movie. I may forget something. I don't mean to, but boy, there is a lot going on. I had to take some notes here just to make sure I didn't forget some things. What this movie is it takes place in a 20-year span, 1945 to 1965, in two towns and everything in between. Knockemstiff, Ohio, and Coal Creek, West Virginia. You start the story off with Willard Russell. He's just come back from the war. He's seen horrific things, and he's kind of lost his faith. When he comes back, he meets a young waitress who he instantly falls in love with. But his parents have other plans. They want him to marry this nice girl at church. But here's the thing. He doesn't have any interest in the nice girl at church. He has interest in the waitress, of course. So that's okay because the nice girl at church falls in love with the traveling preacher who comes to town that day. And they end up married and having a child. We'll get back to that because that does play into the story big time. Willard marries his waitress that he falls in love with, and they have a child. Again, we'll come back to that. You also have Carl, played by Jason Clarke, who is a serial killer. And him and Sandy get together in the same diner that Willard meets his wife. On the same day. Willard and Carl actually bump into each other. But Carl and Sandy, they have a particular thing they like to do when they're killing people. They travel the roads, they pick up hitchhikers, they stop, and Carl forces the hitchhiker to have sex with his girl while he takes pictures, and then he brutally murders him, takes more pictures, and then they get rid of the body. And that comes into play a lot for a lot of the other characters. So that's their story. You also have Sebastian Stan, who at the beginning is like a low-level cop that you can tell he has ambition, and of course that ambition leads to bigger things for later in the movie. He's also the brother of Sandy. Being the brother of Sandy, you can see that that's probably going to add more problems later. We go later into life where the two kids I mentioned earlier have grown up. Arvin, which is Willard's son, ends up being Tom Holland. Then you have the other kid, played by Eliza Scanlon, and she's that's Lenora, who, through circumstances I won't spoil, they end up living with Willard's parents. I told you, it's hard to keep track here. So they consider themselves brother and sister, even though the movie talks about how these towns are the kind of towns where everyone's related to everyone. You have these two characters who aren't related, but they consider themselves brothers and sisters. And Arvin is very protective of his sister, as you see when he protects her a couple times in this movie. Let's just say you're going to see a different side of Tom Holland. So you have these two characters, and then we go to the church I'm going to introduce another character here. You go to the church, and it's the same church where the girl that the parents wanted Willard to marry met her preacher husband. They have this traveling preacher coming in. He's from one of those fancy Bible colleges, and that's Robert Pattinson's character. And you can already tell that he's going to be a douchebag. And let's just say he is. He's a married man. You kind of know where I'm going with this. And I won't say where it goes, but you can kind of probably see where this young, pious, straight out of college preacher, where his character is going to go. And then all these characters together over 20 years leads to a lot of things happening. Look, I'm trying not to spoil the big stuff in this movie, but I will say this. It's one of those movies where by the time you get to the third act, you can kind of see where everything's going to converge. But the journey to get there is interesting. So even though you kind of see where it's going or where it could go, or at least have the general gist of where it's going to go, you see it coming, but it's okay because you've enjoyed the journey. So I can't really talk about the story more. Let's just say that a lot of things that could be coincidences happen, but the way they interweave everything, have the characters interact, what happens to the characters, it's a pretty interesting watch. I will say it's not a very happy watch. You will not feel good after watching this movie. It is definitely a big downer. Anything positive usually gets flushed down the toilet pretty quickly. It also is one of those movies that has a bit of an open end. Now, it's not one of those aggravatingly bad open endings where you're mad at it. I enjoyed the open ending because it kind of played into the characters' motivations and the characters' pasts. And I thought it worked really well. And again, I can't say who I'm talking about because that would spoil the overall story. When it comes to the violence in this movie, the violence is extremely brutal and bloody when it happens. Whether it be Tom Holland's character protecting his sister or the serial killers doing their thing. It's violent in all the right ways. I know that sounds weird, but the violence in this gets the point across, and it works really well in this. When it comes to characters and the acting, I really liked everybody in this movie. Again, there's too many characters to talk about. Just know that they're all good. I want to talk about Tom Holland, though you ain't getting Peter Parker in this movie. He's definitely showing his range as an actor in this. His character... let's just say he's seen some stuff, whether it be when he was younger, watching his father go through the good times and bad, his crisis of faith, because he has really no faith because of some of the things that his father went through and his father did. You get to see his anger, and how protective he can be of those he loves. Let's just say that he does not hold back. But then his story also converges with other things that happen in this movie as well, playing into some of the other character stories that really, it's not a part of his. It's just something that happens to him. So a lot happens in this movie, and Tom Holland is pretty fantastic in this. Robert Pattinson, I mentioned earlier, you can tell his character is going to be a douchebag. He plays it perfectly, though. He's fantastic in this. His voice is a little hard to understand at times because he's got this really heavy southern accent going on. But, I mean, you already know. I mean, the moment you meet this guy, you know you are going to hate him, and he's going to do something that you're really going to hate him even more for. And Pattinson does a fantastic job of, you're supposed to not like him. You're supposed to not trust him. Even though some of the characters do, for some reason. He's he's charming to some of the characters, but we, the viewer, and some of the other characters know that he's a piece of crap. Bill Skarsgård's really good in this as Tom Holland's dad. He definitely plays the damaged soldier coming home, finding peace, but then when bad things start to happen, he crumbles type character. Jason Clarke is just creepy in the right kind of ways. I mean, he just has that demeanor to where he can just play creepy. He can turn it on like a faucet, and he does really good. I liked Riley Keough in this because her character, while she's into this whole serial killer thing, at first you can tell that over the time they're together, I mean, they're together for 20 years. Over the time they're together, it's starting to weigh on her. Like the victims will cry and things like that, and it's really just damaging her. And of course, now she's stuck with this. Sebastian Stan is really good in this. You can tell that he's going to be the kind of person that, while you can tell he might care about his sister, her justice and her freedom mean nothing compared to his ambition. And he's just that kind of character as well. And again, everyone in this really good. I'm not going to get into every character, but even those that aren't in it very much are really good in the movie. Like I said, it's really hard to talk about this movie without ruining it for you. I will say I don't think this one's going to be for everyone, but if you like dark thrillers and don't have to have a Hollywood happy ending, this is the type of movie for you. It is about 2.5 hours long, and there's a lot to digest. Again, you noticed all the stories I was trying to interweave together and all the characters. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of themes going on. I mean, you have themes of faith and lust and violence and just so many different things going on. But I thought the stories really interweaved pretty well together. And again, it's a dark, dark movie, and again, it's a little hard to watch at times, but if you stick with it, I think it's a very satisfying movie, and especially for being on Netflix. Netflix gets a lot of flack for not putting a lot of time and effort into the stories of their movies, and they try to sequel bait and all that stuff. No, this one is a straight up one-shot movie that has a lot of good characters. And when I say good characters, I just mean interesting ones, not, trust me, a lot of the characters in this, as I said in the beginning, there's a lot of no good sons of bitches in this. It's just a really interesting watch, to watch how it weaves together, to watch how the characters interact, to watch how their stories come together in these two towns that really have no significance, that really are just little towns of nothing, but a lot is going on in these little towns of nothing. And honestly, I'm not going to say it's like the best movie I've seen this year, but I will say it is, granted, this is a weird year, but it is one of the better movies I've watched this year. I just really enjoyed it. And I don't know if it's one I would watch again right away, because again, once you watch it, you don't feel real good after you're done. But if you do watch it, if you like dark thrillers, this is a pretty good watch. That's going to be all for this edition of Talkin Movies. If you like what you've heard here, please subscribe to the Real Gino YouTube channel. Like this video. If you have anything to say about the devil all the time, please feel free to leave a comment in the section below. Till next time, I'm your host, the Real Gino, Gino Reynolds. See you later.